What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Infinitech, where the goal is to break down the latest in technology every single week. Now, June has been a wild ride, and we're not even 2 weeks in it yet. Today, I'm going to break down the most significant breakthroughs and announcements and give you a little insight on what you should be looking out for. Now, I always promise no fluff, so let's go right into it. So originally, I had this set for part 2, but I had to move it to part 1 because I started watching it and I couldn't resist. And we're talking about Apple's WWDC, or the Worldwide Developers Conference for 2025. Now, there may have been some disappointment, but there were no hardware upgrades, no new iPhones, nothing like that. But they did talk about a lot of key software upgrades for what they're calling the new age of Apple. Now, the last software upgrade that we saw was back in iOS 7, and that's what our phones look like right now. Some minor upgrades here and there. But what they unveiled today is iOS 26. All right, and it's called 26 because, of course, it's going to be available for everything around the 2026 period. But it's going to be something that's available on all of their platforms. So that's Mac OS, that's the new Vision Pro, of course, iPad OS, everything. Now look, if I had a shot for how many times they said liquid glass in the first 15 minutes of their presentation, I probably wouldn't have been able to shoot this video. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. But liquid glass is a new way to see the new iOS, and honestly, it looks pretty sleek. Now, Apple has this weird way of making the most simple things look elegant, and it honestly shows us what we didn't think we needed. So liquid glass blurs the lines, as they said, between hardware and software. It gives you rounded corners, it's completely adaptable between applications, and it gives you a translucent effect on all your apps in any of your systems. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. You'll have to go on Apple's site to check it out or even rewatch the keynote, but I like it. It's simple, and it gives you that full experience that Apple sells time and time again. Now, another notable unveiling was the Foundations Model Framework, which is basically a developer tool to allow you to use Apple Intelligence in various different applications, even so much as to add the language models for Apple Intelligence to just about every application that you use. Now, there's going to be more information that comes out, but it seems like it might be a good step in the right direction for AI when it comes to Apple. Now, if you remember my blog post that I put initially on infinitech.space, Apple's been a little slow when it comes to AI, but they have a high bar set all the time. So I'm glad that they're starting to take the approach and give their developers something that they can work with. They also have a lot of new stuff with the watchOS. I'm not really going to go into that, but I like the software approach that Apple's going with. I like how they're integrating AI a little bit more, and they're really committed to it. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. So part 2 of the major breakthroughs. Of course, my iPhone wants to start tweaking a little bit. I understand WWDC just happened, and now everybody's iPhone's going to tweak just a little bit to get you excited for what's next. But of course, let's jump into part 2. So on a more serious note, we gotta talk about AI's impact on the economy as a whole. So the CEO of Klarna, which is basically a finance tech company mainly known for their buy now, pay later loans, have now started to see a bunch of people go into default with those loans. Now, he recently warned that we could probably see a recession due to the replacement of a lot of white-collar jobs due to AI. Klarna themselves went from about 5,500 employees to 3,000 recently. And with the replacement of like 700 of those customer service roles, they earned or saved, I should say, about $40 million. It feels kind of bad to say, but it's really the truth. And there's so many investments going on in the US right now. I think over $100 billion in investments in artificial intelligence alone. So there's a significant and rapid integration of AI that is kind of crippling the workforce. And this couldn't come at the worst time for the economy. So, I mean, it's really unstable right now the way it looks. But of course, it's increasing productivity, so the top guys don't really care. Now that I've made everybody sad. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best to end on a high note. For part 3, we're gonna jump into the Nintendo Switch 2 that just released. Now, this is a sequel, or I guess you can call it a sequel, but it's the newest rendition of the Switch, and a lot of Nintendo players have been waiting for this for quite some time. Okay, so those of you that have the Switch 1 or the first Switch, you're gonna go from a 6.2 screen size to a 7.9, and that's gonna give you 1080p and about 120 hertz refresh rate. Also, you got backwards compatibility that's available on select titles, and then of course digital downloads and physical games, things of that nature. But when it comes to graphics and processing, they equipped it with the Nvidia Tegra T239, I believe, and that's gonna give you more enhanced graphics and better processing around the board. We all know from my last video that Nvidia is doing everything they can to stay ahead of the market, the game, everything. Now, I don't handheld game too much, but the Switch is definitely a leap into the future when it comes to handheld gaming. I mean, you expect that out of Nintendo. Nobody else is doing it. They can literally corner the market. Now, there's of course the Steam Deck out there and a few other notable handheld gaming systems, but come on, it's Nintendo. They can't really lose too much when it comes to handheld gaming. We want to talk about relentless pace. June 2025 has honestly shown us that things are moving incredibly fast this year in the world of technology. From AI's implementation everywhere, you've got Apple making significant software upgrades. And then of course you've got some crazy hardware upgrades coming from Nintendo. I'm really excited for what the rest of the year is gonna hold. We still got Christmas to get through, so expect a lot of changes. I'm gonna help you stay on top of every single one of those things. New innovations, new announcements, new breakthroughs, everything. We're gonna have all that and more here on Infinitech. Leave a comment below. I'd be glad to answer any questions or take any suggestions for videos that you guys want to see on your end. And make sure you check out either of the last 2 videos that I posted, and of course, stay tuned. Till the next time.